Just confirm me, am I audible or not? Just confirm me, am I audible or not? Good morning. Okay, good. Have a good morning. Okay, today we are going to finish this Helminthes and we'll move on to Annelida and Arthropoda and so on. Okay, in last two class we are dealt with Helminthes. We have completed the Stenia solium, Cystosoma, and Ascaris. In today's class, we are going to finish all these things. Okay, it's very short. Okay, when compared to above three, these things are very little bit decrease in form. Okay, let me ask you a simple question. What is the common name for Cystosoma species? What is a common name for Cystosoma species? Quick. Blood fluke. Very good. And what are all the hosts involved in the life cycle of schistosoma? As it is going to feed on blood, it is said to be as the blood flukes. Okay, the genus schistosoma is said to be as the blood flukes. And what are all the hosts involved in the life cycle of schistosoma? Is it? Okay, then what is a common name for Teniosolium? What is a common name for Teniosolium? Tapeworm. What tapeworm? Is it only a tapeworm? Yes. And what is a common name for Ascaris? What is a common name for Ascaris? Quick, what about the other? Just answer for the question. Okay, what is the host for Teniosolium? What are all the hosts involved in the life cycle of Teniosolium? Name the host. Which is involved in the life cycle of Teniosolium. Very good. Man and the pig. Okay, see, these are all the list of parasites. We know that, and again, I'm repeatedly stressing on the point. Focus on the common name and focus on the host, whether it is digenetic or monogenetic. Clear? And what are all the diseases they are going to cause, and what are the again, intermediate host and what are all the larval stages involved in the are growing inside the primary host, and what are all the larval stages which are growing inside the secondary host. These are all the things which are important. And when it comes to the larval stages, which is the infective stage? Okay, like bladder worm in Teniosolium. We know that bladder worm, it is also called as cysticercus, and this is the one going to cause This is the one going to infect the humans. Okay, and this cysticercus is the last stage of the life cycle inside the secondary host, that is pig. Okay, only then it is released into the water, and using this stage it is reaching the man. So you have to remember what is the stage of the host which is entering from the secondary host to the primary host, and which is the infective stage. These are all the things you have to focus on. Okay, so in today's class we are going to discuss this ancylostoma. Now, so again the same point, ancylostoma duodenale. Okay, this is said to be as the common hookworm. Common hookworm. Clear? So the first point you have to remember when it comes to the ancylostoma species is common hookworm. Clear? And by looking this picture, just tell me whether it is a flat worm or a round worm or a segmented worm. Just tell me by seeing this picture. Is it a flat worm or round worm or segmented worm? Quick. Is it a flat worm? What are we are discussing now? We are discussing now a nematodes. What is nematodes? In case of platyhelminthes, we are going to call them as a C. You're getting confusing. Platyhelminthes, nemathelminthes, and annelids. Clear? This platyhelminthes is said to be as the flatworms, and this nemathelminthes is said to be as a roundworms, and this annelids is said to be as the segmented worm. And we have completed this platyhelminthes by seeing this Teniasolium and Cystosoma and Teniasolium. Okay. See, we get into the nematodes. Now, what is this ancylostoma? See, this comes in under the phylum Nematoda. So obviously, this is the roundworm. Okay. And Solium and Fasciola hepatica, these are all the Fasciola hepatica. They are flat in nature. Okay. This is the structure for flatworms. See, by looking this diagram, this is a roundworm. Okay. Generally, the nematodes are like this. Okay. This is said to be as the roundworm. Clear? So this ancylostoma duodenal comes under the roundworm category, and particularly this ancylostoma is said to be as the hookworm. Okay, there are different types of worms are there: hookworm, pinworm, threadworm, breadworm, everything will be there. Okay, see this ancylostoma species comes under the phylum Nematoda and the class Phasmidia. Okay, what is Phasmidia? What is Phasmidia? Just tell me, it deals with the function, excretion, reproduction, respiration, circulation, or sensory organ. Just tell me, what is the deal with? The organisms which is placed under the spasmedia contains what? Especially, it deals with excretion or reproduction or respiration or circulation or sensory organ. Yesterday I have explained you, right? Is it excretion? Very nice. See, what is plasmids? Caudal sensory organs. If the sensory organs present in the tail region, that is said to be as the plasmids. This is referred to as the caudal sensory organs. If the plasmid is present, then it is placed under the class Plasmidia. If the plasmid is absent, then it is placed under the class Apasmidia. Clear? And you have to focus on the name also. Apasmidia is said to be as Adenophoria, and Plasmidia is said to be as the Caesalnatae. Okay, clear? Clear? Don't get confused. Okay, these are all the technical term, you should aware of it, why it has to place in this particular class. If they asked in the question, means we have to know this is referred to as a caudal sensory organ. So this particular ancylostoma duodenale contains a caudal sensory organ, so it is placed under the class Plasmidia. Clear? Any doubts? It is not deals with the function, um, Of course, excretion is one of the point, but plasmid is particularly refers to as the caudal sensory organs. And those organisms which is placed under this plasmidia has a well-developed excretory organ. That is a separate point, separate characteristics. But the what the exact term is mentioning about, it deals with, you should know that. Yeah, and the order Strongyloideae and the family Ancyclostomidae and genus Ancyclostoma species. We are going to deal with this particular species, Diodnil. Okay, now we are going to discuss about the life cycle of this particular Ancyclostoma diodnil. Okay, what are all the by looking this diagram, what is the intermediate host involved in this particular parasite? What is the host? What is the intermediate host? Two things have been involving here, that is human and external environment. So there is no intermediate host between this external environment and the human is seen here. Okay, see, initially the egg will be released in the feces. Okay, so just remember, the egg will be released in the fecal matter excreted by the human beings, and that fecal matter contain lots and lots of eggs. Okay, and that eggs will be hatches in the particular environment. It is hatches into a larval stages, which is called as the rhabditiform larva. Here, rhabditiform larva. So this is the larval stage involved in the life cycle of the Ancyclostoma species. This is the second thing we have to remember after the common name. Okay. Now, after this rhabditiform larva hatches, it is developed into a well-developed rhabditiform larva, and this is developed into a filariform larvae. And this filariform larvae is the one enters into the body of the humans. Okay, now it penetrates the skin. Initially, it is going to contact with the skin, get contact with the skin. Okay, and after it penetrates inside the skin, it is enters into the circulation. Okay, it enters into the circulation, and after the circulation, via the blood, it reaches the lungs, and after the lungs, it reaches the tracheae. And after it reaches the tracheae, it reaches the pharynx. And when it reaches the pharynx, in yesterday's class, when I dealt with the cystosoma species, I have explained when it reaches the pharynx, it once again reswallowed and again it reaches the gut region. Like in the same way, the same thing happening here. Okay, as it comes under the nematoda, similar all the parasites more or less following the same life cycle. Okay, that is what this the same thing will be happening here. Okay, see the tracheae, once it reaches the tracheae, it reaches the pharynx. After it reaches the pharynx, once again it's swallowed, and again the parasite will reach the intestine. And intestine is the perfect area to attain the sexual maturation. So now the larval stages will be completely formed into the matured adult form with a sexually matured reproductive organ. Now, by fertilization, by fusion of this male and female gamete, this the female is going to lay lots and lots of eggs. And again, the eggs will be released in the fecal matter. Once again, the life cycle is started. Okay, any doubts? So you have to understand the two types of larval forms. First larval form is rhabditiform larva, and the second larval form is filariform larva. This is the two things you have to remember. And one more point is there is no intermediate host in this particular life cycle of the Ancyclostoma species. Yeah. Okay. Now, life cycle, copulation and the fertilization. Hookworms mates in the host intestine, where it attains the sexual maturity. Once it attains the sexual maturity in the host intestine, it adapts to that particular environment, and the hookworms is ready to copulate. Copulate means they are sexual intercourse. Okay, and during copulation, the bursa of male is applied on the vulva of the female, and the sperms getting transferred. This bursa is the sexual structure which is present in the male. It is the one going to attach with the vulva which is present in the female. Okay, through which the sperm of the male will be entered into the vulva of the female. Now, once the sperm will reaches the ovum, it is going to fertilize. Fusion of male and female gamete is going to happen there. As a result of fertilization, what is happening here? What is the end product of fertilization? Zygote will be formed. And this particular fertilization will be occur in the seminal receptacles. Okay, seminal receptacles. Now, again, the fertilized egg will be passed out in the host fecal matter. See the fertilized egg released in the fecal matter. How much, what is the capacity of the female to lay egg means 9,000 fertilized eggs per day. Okay, the eggs are oval in shape and will be protected. See, each and every eggs will be protected by some of the shells to protect from an external danger. Like in the same way, this eggs also protected by some of the shells, which is called as which is made up of the chitin, hyaline chitinous cells. And the zygote within has already cleaved into 4 or 8 celled embryo. Here, see, fertilization, as a result of fertilization, zygote will be formed and the zygote will be covered by the protected shell. And the zygote, after the zygote, what is the process occurring is cleavage. And this cleavage, as a result of this cleavage, the zygote will be cleaved into 4 or 8 celled embryo. We can call them as a morula stage. Before the, see, as a result of cleavage, we'll get blastula, and after the blastula, morula. Okay. Now, see, now the zygote will be formed and the cleavage has been happening after the, as a result of cleavage. Now, as a result of cleavage, 4 or 8 celled embryo will be produced. And as a result of this 4 or 8 celled stage, this is said to be as the larva. Okay, and what is the larval stages? Rhabditiform larva, and after some morphological changes, this rhabditiform larva will be changed into the filariform larva. Let's discuss here. Under favorable environmental conditions of moisture, oxygen supply, temperature, embryo develops into the first stage juvenile or rhabditiform larva. This is the most important part. Always just keep in mind the egg has to be hatched out. Okay, to make the egg hatch out, what are the factors influencing that process means temperature. Definitely temperature. Okay, temperature plays a crucial role when it comes to the hatching of eggs. Just imagine chicks, it needs more heat. Okay, like in the same way, each and every egg needs certain environment to hatch out. Now, after the eggs will be hatched out, this particular Ancyclostoma species will be converted into the first stage larval form, first stage juvenile larva, that is said to be as the labditiform larva, and that will be happening within the 24 to 48 hours, 1 or 2 days. And this newly hatched larva, what is their characteristic features? What is their structural growth means? They have a mouth, and they has a buccal capsule, and they has an elongated pharynx with an esophageal bulb and an intestine. See, just tell me, what is these structures? If the presence of all these structures, the larval forms will definitely undergo which type of process? There is a mouth is present there, buccal capsule is present there, and elongated pharynx is present there, and pharynx with esophageal bulb is also there, and intestine is also present there. Then what is it looks like? This is the digestive tract, right? So as the digestive system is well developed, definitely this larval stages is going to feed something. Okay. Now, what is there to feed? It feeds on the bacteria of the fecal matter, okay, or the other organic debris of the soil for 4 to 5 days, and molds twice to form what is molds? Shed of something, shedding of their body part. See, molting is the process. This can be asked in a question. Just what is molting? Molting means consider this is the larval stages. This is the larval forms, and this has to this rhabditiform larva definitely there must be, it has to undergo some of the changes, morphological changes, then only it is going to gives rise to the filariform larva, correct? Now for that process it has to lose some of its structures and it has to gain some of the structure. This process is called as the molting. Okay, shredding of something, and molting twice to form a third stage juvenile or the filariform larva. So the first juvenile form is said to be as the rhabdidiform larva, and the third stage is said to be as the filariform larva. Clear? Now, this juvenile is about this much long. This is not necessary and infective for man. So this rhabdidiform, the function, the only function that doing by this rhabdidiform larva is feeding. Now, after feeding, it gains some of its structures and it gives rise to the third stage of larval form, which is called as a filariform larva. Second stage is not necessary. See, that is why I'm coming to say, right? See, the second stage, we can call them as the second instar larva. There is no particular name for that particular second stage, and there is no importance for those second stage. We can say them as a, see, rhabdidiform larva will be converted into the filariform larva. We can call them as the second stage larva, and this stage larva has some of the characteristics which is present in the rhabdidiform larva and some of the characteristics which is present in the filariform larva. So we can call them as the intermediate larval stage between the rhabdidiform and the filariform larva. And this rhabdidiform larva is going to feed many things. It is going to feed, okay, voracious feeder. And this filariform larva is an infective stage, and this larval stage doing nothing, okay, as it loss is important, there is no need to read this type of this larval stage, okay. We can call them as a second instar larva. Now this juvenile is infective human, okay. It has a non-patent mouth, okay. As it lost its mouth, what mechanism cannot be seen here? The digestion mechanism can't see here, so it can't be feed, okay, but it remains alive and infective for several weeks under favorable conditions. Yeah. Now, infection of the new host. Now, the egg will be hatched out, and we'll get the rhabdidiform larva, and this rhabdidiform larva, in the second instar larva, transfer to the larval stages too, and this second larval stage will develop into a third larval stage, which is called as the filariform larva, which is an infective stage. Now, we have to know how this filariform larva enters into the host, that is human. This filariform larva infects a new host by chance in contact with the skin. So, this will be the important thing. How it is making contact with the host means through the subcutaneous tissues, that is skin. Its anterior end is equipped with oral spears. See, it has no mouth, but it has oral spears, which enables larva to penetrate the skin of potential human host. Just consider this as a human hand. This larval stage will made in contact with the skin. It has a oral spears. It digs the human skin and it can enter into the body of the host. Now, this larvae may bore through the skin in any part of the body, but via only through the skin. They penetrate the soft skin on the sides of feet, hands through the hair follicles. Yeah, because we know our hands contains a lot of hairs, and each hair is immersed through an opening, and this one via this opening, this filariform larva will enter into the inside the host. Now, this penetration is generally accompanied by several severe dermatitis, and that is said to be as the groundage. Okay, these are the side effects when this filariform larva will bore into the skin. It causes some of the itching, and that is said to be as the groundage. And how can we characterize them by showing the ulceration of the skin about. Okay. Besides percutaneous entrance, infection is also possible through ingestion of contaminated food and water. This can also be possible, but this is secondary. Okay. But the primary infection point is by penetrating through the skin, particularly the soft skin through the hair follicles. Now, see, now the filariform larva will enter into the body of the host. Now, how it has been migrate to the targeted areas or the targeted organs. Within 24 hours of infection, the larva reach the blood vessels and follow the same migratory course described for the larva of the ascaris. Same thing. It is going to reach the bloodstream, and after the bloodstream, it is going to reach the heart through this right ventricle. It reaches the right ventricle of the heart, and after reaching the heart, it is going to reach the lungs by the pulmonary artery. See, consider this as a heart. This is the heart. This is the right auricle. These are all the four. We have no four chambers of the heart, and after it reaches the right auricle and the right ventricle, again the oxygen will be taken into the lungs. Via which particular artery? Pulmonary artery. It is taking the deoxygenated blood to the lungs via the pulmonary artery. Now this filariform larva via the blood vessels, it reaches the right ventricle, and again from the right ventricle through the pulmonary artery it reaches the lungs. Clear? And this via this lungs they break out of pulmonary capillaries it into the alveolar spaces. The same thing what we have dealt with yesterday, the same thing has been repeating again. Okay, from the bloodstream it reaches the heart, from the heart to the lungs, from the lungs to the alveolar spaces, and from the lung larvae ascend trachea to reach the pharynx, becomes swallowed through the esophagus, and finally it is going to reach the intestine, and before that they become attached to the mucous lining and feed on the blood. They are going to feed on the blood. In 5 to 6 weeks they molt twice. They molt twice means what? To become the adults. Again they are going to shred off something, shred off their body parts, and male and female copulate, and female starts laying eggs which pass out in the fecal material of the human host. And once again, the normal lifespan of the hookworms inside the body of the host is 5 to 7 years. That can extend to a maximum period of 16 years. Now, what is the disease they are going to cause? As ankylostomiosis. And how we can be diagnosed? How we can identify whether this person is affected with this type of hookworm? Is they can be observed by the fecal smear, and this fecal matter consisting of the lots and lots of eggs. Okay, through this we can analyze this person has this type of diseases, and what are all the symptoms we are going to get if we affected with this particular disease. This pathogenicity genicity is fairly extensive, involving skins, lungs, and the small intestine. These are all the target of areas, and they are going to cause a tiny irritating sores, cause dew sores or ground itching and inflammation of the skin. While penetrating inside the body of the host, they are going to cause this type of symptoms. And in the lungs, this migratory larva causes petechial hemorrhages and bronchial pneumonitis. See, pneumonia, pneumonitis, if the name suggests, these are all the disease which is related to the lungs. They are all the lungs disease, pneumonia. Okay. Now, but greater damage, see, like I have said, the hepatic portal, when the word hepatic means which refers to the liver, because the liver is made up of hepatic cells. Like in the same way, pneumonia, pneumonitis, these are all the terms which is related to the lungs. Okay, fine. But the greatest damage occurs only in the small intestine by the adult worms, because they are very well matured, so are very capable to cause some of the disease. Here, the punctured wound continues to bleed for some time, so that the more blood is lost than worms can consume. So, as it feeds on blood, they are going to cause anemia, decrease in general immunity, and bloody stools. Okay, the stools with the blood. Now, this intestinal wounds which cause many detrimental infections. And what are all the toxins which is secreted by those parasites means they are secreted by the glands which is present in the head region of worms. And this causes the stomach pain, food fermentation, diarrhea, constipation, dyspnea, palpitation of heart, eosinophilia, loss of health and collapse. These are all the side effects. Main symptoms, and mental and physical growth is retarded in children, growing youth. See, these diseases, these can be easily enter into the body of the human. Those who are dirt eaters, those who are unhygienic in nature. Okay, dirt eaters. They are said to be as dirt eaters. Okay, so you have to eat before, only after washing our hands and washing everything. See, unchecked infection may lead to the fatty degeneration of heart, liver, and kidney, and ending in death. If untreated, it is also seems as to be fatal. And these are all the drugs to treat this type of ankylostoma species diseases, such as carbon tetrachloride, thymol, and oil of chenopodium, hexyl resorcinol. Okay, and most common recommended drugs are tetrachloroethylene and bifidum because of its high efficiency and low toxicity. The names of drugs is not that much important, so just leave it. Any doubts? If you have any doubts, means you can ask me now. So what is the thing you have to focus here is the common hookworm. Okay, the name, and this is comes under the roundworm because it is placed under the phylum nematodes. And name of the host. Only human will act as the host. And the second thing you have to remember is two types of larva. Rhabditiform larva is the first stage of larva, and the filariform larva is the third stage of larva. And what is their area they are going to reach? Circulation, heart, that is heart, and through this pulmonary artery, they are going to reach the lungs, and after the lungs, trachea to pharynx, and after once again it reaches the intestine. And intestine is the perfect place where it is going to attain the sexual maturity. This is the only thing you have to be keep in mind. Clear? And one of the things a rhabditiform larva is going to feed because it has a well-developed digestive system with it. And in case of this filariform larva, it loses its mouth, and so this larval stage cannot feed on anything, but this is an infective stage. This filariform larva is a severe infective. These are all the only things if you are going to remember. And what is the name of disease? Ankylostomiasis. That's all. Okay, any doubts? If you don't have any doubts, let's move on to the next name of the next parasite, Trichinella spiralis. So as I said before, this is the first thing you have to keep in mind is this is the common name is porkworm. This is not a pork tapeworm. This is the porkworm. Clear? Tapeworm means it is a flatworm and it is again placed under the phylum Platyhelminthes. Okay, this is placed under the nematoda. So obviously this is a porkworm. This is not a pork tapeworm. So the common name for Trichinella species is porkworm. Now the phylum Nematoda Adenophorae. See, if they have given a Basmedia or Basmedia, you can easily come to know this will be somewhat this caudal sensory organs is present or absent, and excretory system is well developed or not well developed. But they have given the other name, that is Adenophorae. So this is a Basmedia or Basmedia. So you have to see that you have to focus on that itself. Okay. So you have to revise the PPT again and again. And the order which is placed under this Trichinella species, which is placed under the order Trichocephalidae. And superfamily Trichinelloideae, and the genus Trichinella species spiralis. Very good. It is Abasmidae. Now, what is the life cycle of Trichinella spiralis? Ingestion of raw flesh with cyst by the human. See, raw flesh. So definitely it is going to transfer from contaminated food. Okay, raw flesh. Those who are undercooked. Okay, ingestion of raw flesh with the cyst by the human, and the cyst, when it finds the favorable condition inside the human, they are going to undergo another the next process of their life cycle, excision in the duodenum. So the major target area is duodenum, and where they are going to remove their shed wall. See, in cyst we have seen two types of process. One is encystation. Right from the first class and keep on repeating the same point: cyst, encystation and excision. The zygote or whatever the okay, we'll take the zygote. It is covered with the extracystual. That is said to be that process is said to be as the encystation. And the cyst wall, when it finds the favorable condition, it has to remove the cyst wall. And the removal of or the degeneration of those cyst wall is said to be as the excitation. Here, so the cyst will enter into the human and it reaches the duodenum. Now, where the cyst wall is going to remove by the organisms, and that process is said to be as the excision. Now, after the cyst wall is break, they are ready to undergo the first further metamorphosis process. Now, the adult worm will be developed. Now the male and female sexual organs will be they have when the adult form is developed, definitely there will be a sexual maturity is there. They attain the sexual maturity also. Once again, the fertilization will be happen. After the fertilization, zygote will be formed, and after the zygote, cleavage will be happening. After the cleavage, the larval stages will be developed. Now the larval stages doesn't sit in the same place. Okay, Now this larval stages will enter into the circulation and will be released into the striated muscles. Okay. Now, once again, see infected pork. Okay. Now, this infected pork, this is the original source of this infection is garbage. Okay, garbage. Now from the garbage, the rat is also going to infected hog, infect the animals. See, mainly the animals are said to be as the carriers of this particular infection. Now all these infected animals will release the cercaria in the water. Okay, we know what is the stage of cercaria. It has a bifurcated tail it, and this is the infective stages. It is the one going to affect the host. Okay. Pathogenicity, how they are going to cause infection, how they are going to enter into the human. This is the interphase stage of intestinal invasion, that is said to be as the incubation period. This occurs in the early stage of infection, 5 to 7 days, during which the larva are grown into an adult form. Okay, now the female begins to discharge larva into the circulation. Anyhow, the female is the one going to lay eggs. From the egg will be hatched out and it is develops into the larval stage, and the larva will enter into the circulation. Now, what are all the symptoms they are going to give me? Gastrointestinal nausea, diarrhea, abdominal cramps, and sometimes vomiting. We know what if the disease, if some of the infection will be happening inside the intestine, means definitely these are all the things going to happen. Whatever be the diseases, if there is any infection inside the intestine or the stomach, these are all the common symptoms. How this can be diagnosed means food poisoning, particularly when it occurs in the groups of people will have taken the same food. In case of any function, if they everyone will have the common symptom, means particularly the food will be contaminated. In some, constipation is seen instead of diarrhea. Okay, which is what is diarrhea and what is constipation? Constipation means there is no release of fecal matter. Okay, everything will be stagnant inside the intestine itself. In case of diarrhea, frequent release of fecal matter with lots and lots of dehydration, that is loss of water. And both the conditions will be seen in case of this particular infection. The onset of illness may be from the 2.5 hours of infection of the infective food. So once it has been the larval stages will be released from the adults, the larva has to migrate. And what is their target area is muscle invasion or the migratory phase. It has to going to reach the striated muscles. And this occurs in the release during the release of larva, their migration, deposition, and encapsulation in the muscles. This occurs from the 7th to 10th day and cover a period of 14 to 16 weeks. These are all not necessary. The chief symptoms is fever, edema of face swelling, weakness of the affected muscles. Eosinophilia is a constant feature. Okay, eosinophils, the cells which is again a white blood cells. Okay, they are going to release more eosinophils. Myocarditis and encephalitis are the serious potentiality fatal complications of taxonomia. So you have to know if untreated, this then again this Trichinella species will it is fatal in nature. Now encapsulation after the migratory phase, again encystment phase will be occur, which means what? It is going to cover themselves within the cyst wall. Okay, this occurs only in the striated muscles. Okay, if it reaches the other tissue, the larval stages will be degenerated. This lasts from 1 to 8 months after the infection, and fever and other symptoms have been subsided. See, they are going to infect first, they are cause some of the symptoms, when once again they are going to cover themselves within the cyst wall, particularly in the striated muscles. And once again the favorable condition will occur, again the cycle will continue. They are going to keep on give some of the infections. And after this stage, the cyst begins to calcify and may have a permanent injury. This clinical disease is self-limited and usually lasts 2 to 3 weeks in light and 2 to 3 months in heavy infection. Okay, this lasts for some of the months. Trichinella species, it is also called as the trichina worm. It is an important parasitic nematode of man and other mammals. So, human is not only vulnerable but also all the mammals, as I have mentioned in this picture. A rat, hog, cats, dogs, pork, everything will be the vulnerable to this disease. It causes a disease known as the trichinosis. This particular disease is common in USA, Europe, and Arctic regions. And this parasite occurs as a coiled, encysted larva in voluntary muscles of host, usually in the limbs, chest, diaphragm, tongue, eye, and the neck. Okay, this larval stages is this much length, and while the cyst will be this much millimeter. This is not necessary. What are all the things which is particularly in the statistical form? It is not that much important. And 1 ounce of flesh may contain thousands of such larvae. Okay, the new host acquires infection by eating a raw or improperly cooked flesh containing the encysted larva. And now the cyst will be dissolved. How the cyst wall will be break means by the action of the digestive juices. In case of stomach, it is acidic juices. In case of small intestine, it is alkaline juices. Digestive juices and larvae are moved to the safer place between the villi of the intestine. As it is find the small intestine as a perfect place, definitely these are all the things going to happen. Within about 2 days time, they attain a sexual maturity and become adults. Where it will happen? In the intestine. And adults are short-lived, surviving only for a week or two, but encysted larvae retain viability for the several weeks. So you have to understand this may last for some of the weeks or months or even years. Males are smaller than the females. See, this is the common for each and majority of the species, right from the microorganisms from to the humans. What are all the organisms which have been which we can be segregated as male and female? Generally, male will be smaller than the female. Okay, this is common for almost most of the species. Okay, again, this is not necessary. In both the sexes, anterior end is pointed and the posterior end is fleshy. Cuticle is transverse in nature. Okay, that's all about the Trichinella species. Okay, see what are all the things you have to focus in this particular parasite is another name and this life cycle. This life cycle, what are all the targeted region? This is the duodenum. We'll see duodenum only in this species. Okay, Trichinella spiralis. There is no larval stages have been mentioned here. Okay, so you have to understand what is the main target area, striated muscles. Only there it attains the it does the process for called the encystation. Okay, now Loa, see the most important thing, eye worm. Okay, this Loa is said to be a sea eye worm. It is going to cause infections around the eye. What is the domain? Eukaryota, kingdom Animalia. It is placed once again in the phylum Nematoda and the class Chromadoriae and the order Rhabditida and the family Onchocerdidae and the genus Loa and the species is Loa. Okay, now. Okay, with respect to this particular parasite or the helminth worm, you have to focus mainly on the life cycle. This is important. And lower is said to be as what? Eye worm. And what are all the host and what are all the carrier? What are all the larval forms? If you are okay with this slide, this lower is over. Now, the fly, initially the fly takes a blood meal from the human. Okay, see, you have to understand what is the carrier here. Chrysopes. The genus Chrysopes is the fly. They are going to take a blood meal. Now it reaches the subcutaneous tissue. Again the skin. Via the skin it is going to reach their targeted area and they are going to attain the sexual maturity. And this sexual maturity will be happening only inside the human. Now the adults produce a sheathed microfilariae that are found in the spinal fluid, urine, sputum, peripheral blood, and in the lungs. These are all the area. Okay. Now, Now it has been readily available for the further cycle. Again, the fly will take some blood meal. Okay, will ingest those microfilariae. Okay, the adult will produce the microfilariae which is readily available inside the home humans. Once again, with the help of the fly, this fly along with the blood, it takes some microfilaria in it, and it once it takes the microfilaria, this microfilaria shed the sheets, penetrate the fly's midgut. Now this microfilaria will reach the intestine of the gut, sorry, intestine of the fly, and migrate to the thoracic muscles of the fly, and there it is giving rise to the first stage of larval stage. And after the first stage, second stage, and the third stage of larva will reach the head and flies proboscis, and it is there in the third larval stage which is present in the flies proboscis. Okay, via this proboscis, this is the structure going to puncture the skin of the human, and via this proboscis the third stage of larva will be enter into the human, and once again that larval stages will be developed into an adult form. Now this adult will produce some of the microfilariae. Microfilariae means the adult will be sheathed, that is said to be, it is covered by a sheath, that is said to be as microfilaria. Once again, the microfilaria will be taken by the fly along with the blood. Now this microfilaria will lose those sheaths, and it reaches the intestine of the fly, and from the intestine they are going to reach the thoracic muscles. There it is going to undergo the metamorphosis process, that is first stage of larva, second stage, and third stage. Now this third stage is reaches the fly's proboscis, and through the bite of the fly while taking the blood meal from the human, this third stage larva is the one enter into the human, and once again the life cycle continues. Clear? This is the thing you have to remember when it comes to the loa, that is eye worm. Okay, fine. The other important human filaria is the African eye worm. Generally, this is predominant in the Africa. Okay, this is chiefly found in the Africa. They are going to invade the subcutaneous tissue. During their migration may pass across the eyeball, hence the name eyeworm. Okay, the male and female measures 20 to 35, and the male is 20 to 35, and the female is 20 to 70 millimeter. And this body is covered by numerous warts. This is a structure. Now, the gravid females produce ensheathed juveniles or the microfilariae. What is gravid females? Those who has the capacity to carry eggs, which attains the sexual maturity. This gravid females will produce the ensheathed juveniles or the microfilariae. This ensheathed juveniles is said to be as the microfilariae. Here, and this shows a diurnal periodicity. See, this is the characteristics which I have seen only in this particular worm. That is, they show diurnal periodicity. Diurnal means the microfilariae appear only in the daytime. What is the opposite of diurnal? What is the opposite of diurnal? See, we can say a diurnal and the nocturnal animals. Diurnal means which is active only in the daytime. Nocturnal means which is active only in the night time. Okay, but this particular eye worm, it shows a diurnal periodicity, which means what appears only in the daytime in the peripheral circulation, but disappearing at the night time. Okay, so it is active only during the daytime. That is diurnal periodicity. See, what are all the intermediate host? The intermediate host is mango flies, chrysostemia, or the chrysostemia species, that is Silicaceae. Okay, mango flies. This is said to be as the mango. So this chrysostemia is a mango fly. This up to this mango this fly, the third stage of larva will be developed, but only the adult will be formed only when it reaches the human. So in this intermediate host is the mango fly. Now this larva molt. What is molt? They are going to shred off something and it is going to gain something, structural modification. Larva molt and develop up to the infective stage in the fly and are again infected in the bloodstream of the man through the proboscis. In the proboscis, what we can see, third stage of larva will be seen in the proboscis. And this lower microfilariae cause very injurious and fatal cases when they penetrate the brain and the spinal cord and perhaps carry the neurotropic viruses. Also, it is going to cause carry some of the viruses also with it. And during their migration, they cause intense itching and the swelling. They also cause swelling and the pain in the eyes. It is called as the caliber swelling. So this can be asked in your question. Caliber swellings, it is caused by which of the following worm? And you have to know this is said to be as the eye worm, that is lower. Okay. Now, in this slide, two things is important. This fly, name of the fly and what is the name. This is particularly belong to the mango flies. This is the one thing and this is the, these two things are very important. Now, in filarial nematodes, two hosts to complete the life cycle. That is, we know that an intermediate host, that is fly. Insects are generally placed under which phylum? Arthropoda. Okay. And the primary host, that is said to be as a vertebrate. And the juvenile stages occurs in the intermediate host and the reproductive adult, it is in the primary host. And as I have explained you clearly, these larval stages will be happening only in the body of the host. But the adult form where the sexual maturity will be attaining is inside the body of human, that is we can say to be as the definitive or primary host. And what is the name of the diseases which is caused by this worm is loiosis. This is caused by the filarial nematode lova and which is transmitted to the human by the day-biting rhizops flies. Okay, and this juveniles will be developed in horse flies, deer flies, yellow flies, which infects the human by biting them. Okay, generally, what is the intermediate host? This is flies, and that flies which is placed under the phylum Arthropoda, particularly the rhizops flies. And this vector bites an infected human host and ingests the microfilaria. See, the adult will going to form the sheathed microfilaria, which is readily available inside the human. And this is the stage where the fly it is going to ingest from the human along with their blood meal. And this microfilaria move to the thoracic muscles of the insect host. And again, the microfilaria will develop into the first stage juveniles, second stage, and the third stage juveniles. And this third stage juveniles are the infective stage, and they just travel to the proboscis of the fly. And when the fly bites an uninfected human host, this third stage juveniles will penetrate the skin and enter the human subcutaneous tissue. Now, this third stage juveniles will be transformed into one adult. So now, this adult will produce the microfilariae. Clear? And this microfilariae that have been found in the spinal fluid, urine, peripheral blood, and the lungs. Once inside the human body, the infective larva develops slowly into the mature adult. The same thing will be repeating again. And during this period, when the larva will be developing into the adult, during this period, it lives and moves around the facial layers of the skin. In the periods of growth and development of loa often makes frequent excursions through the subdermal connective tissue, where it is often noticed by the host. These things are not necessary. Okay, now. Most of the pathological problems observed in the people infected with loa are connected to the periods when the migrating adult worms will appear near the surface of the skin. Only when it reaches near the surface of the skin, we will realize something is there in the facial muscles and all. And the worm often appear around the eye where they can be easily seen extracted before they damage the conjunctiva. So it can be cured. If it is also untreated, again, it is an lethal condition. And immune reactions to the migrating worms can also cause caliber swellings. So this caliber swellings is the common symptom, and this swelling is as a result of immune reactions. Generally, immune reactions cause the inflammation, and here it is said to be as the caliber swellings in the arms and the legs. Recurrent swelling, that is frequent swelling, that is lead to the formation of cysts like enlargement of the connective tissue around the tendon sheath. If it is finds the our if they find our immune system is fighting against those worms, means they are going to cover them with the protective layering, that is cyst. Clear? Now, These swellings can be extremely painful when they moved. During warms can also be caused chronic abscesses followed by the granulomatous reactions and the fibrosis. These are all the symptoms caused, the parasitic conditions caused by this eye worm. Again, it is an African eye worm caused by the parasitic worm Loa loa, and we know that how we can be caused. This genus Chrysops is the one going to cause this disease. This is the location where they are predominant, Western Central Africa. And again, caliber swelling. The same point is repeating. Infection with a parasite also causes the repeated episodes of itchy swellings, and those itchy swellings is said to be as a caliber swellings. Okay. Now, knowing whether someone has Loa Loa infection has become more important in Africa because the presence of people with Loa Loa infection with limited programs to control or eliminate onchocerciasis, river blindness, and lymphatic filariasis, elephantiasis. See, these people with Loa infection has limited programs to control or eliminate. See, the river blindness and elephantiasis is very common in Africa. If they are with this particular infection, they are hard to eliminate these particular diseases also. So this is so the diagnosis method. The birth diagnosis is very important. This is the challenge those people are facing. Okay. Lowosis again. This is the disease. The same thing will be repeat again and again. That's all about the same slide. The same slide is repeating there. So no need to explain again. That's all about the loa infection. If you have any doubts means can ask me now. And again, what are all the points we have to focus on is what is the second name? That is common name. And this life cycle is very important. If you know this, there is no need to read all these things. Okay. And what is the name of the species? Chrysops species is the fly, act as an intermediate host with respect to those eye worm. Okay, so the next worm, Enterobius vermicularis. So we have completed Ancyclostomia and Loa trichinella. The only leftover Helminth parasite is Oxyuris and Strongyloids. This Oxyuris is the one is also called as the Enterobius vermicularis. Oxyuris is also said to be as the pinworm. This Enterobius vermicularis is also said to be as the pinworm of man. Enterobius vermicularis or Oxyuris vermicularis. Okay, anyhow, they are going to deal with the pinworm. So the first thing you have to keep in mind is this Enterobius species is said to be as the pinworm. Again, the domain it is placed under the Eukaryota, Animaliae, the phylum Nematoda, class Chromadoriae, and the order Rhabditida, family Oxyuridae, and the genus Enterobius. Okay, this Enterobius it is also said to be as the Oxyuris. And the life cycle, once again, this is very important. Now, the eggs will be on the perianal folds. Now, it will be released by the adults. The egg has to be hatched out, and after the egg will be hatching out, larval stages will be produced, and the larva inside the eggs will be mature within 4 to 6 hours. The larval stages will be mature, which is present inside the egg. Now, the embryonated eggs ingested by the human. So this is the stage where the human will be getting infected. The embryonated eggs ingested by the human. Now, once it's ingested by the humans, the larva will hatch only in the small intestine. The larva will hatch in the small intestine. Now, again, this is the common point. Every larva will reach the small intestine. In the small intestine, they'll attain the sexual maturity. The larval stages will give rise to an adult form. In the adult forms, we can definitely we can see the sexual dimorphism, which means a male individual is separate and the female individual are separate. Once again, they undergo the copulation and fertilization. Then the gravid female migrates to the perianal region. This is the region you have to remember. Perianal region, particularly at the night time, they are going to lay eggs. Okay, now these eggs will be released through the excretion, and this eggs on the perianal folds will be developed into the eggs will be the eggs will be developed in the larval stages will be inside the eggs will getting mature within 4 to 6 hours. Once again, the eggs will be ingested into the humans. Okay, the eggs will reach the last small intestine, and there the adult form will be formed. Now they attain the sexual maturity and they are going to fertilize. Once again, they reach the perianal region, particularly the gravid female. Those who have the capacity to lay eggs, that is called as a gravid female. It will reach which region? Perianal region, particularly at the night time, they are going to lay. Okay, this is with respect to the Enterobius vermicularis. What is the name of the host? Oxyurid nematodes, that is pinworms, generally exhibits high host specificity. Humans are the only host for Enterobius vermicularis, although occasional infections have been reported in some of the chimpanzees. But we can say that human can be considered only as the host for this particular Enterobius vermicularis. Okay. So this is the unique point. Okay, so the first point you have to keep in mind is pinworm, and the second point is you have to aware of this life cycle, and the third important point you have to remember about the host. Humans are said to be as only the host. Now, what are all the things I have explained in this life cycle? The same thing will be repeated here. Okay, let me explain you. This gravid adult female Enterobius vermicularis is the one going to lay eggs on the perianal folds. Okay, where perianal folds. The infection occurs via the self-inoculation. That is transferring eggs to the mouth with the hands that have scratched the perianal area or through exposed to the eggs in the environment. Okay, they will be exposed to the contaminated surfaces, clothes, and the bed lines. Okay, now the following ingestion of this infective eggs. Now the eggs will be released. With this infective eggs, the larvae hatch in the small intestine and the adults establish themselves in the colon, usually in the cecum. Okay, now the time. Please mute yourself. Okay. The time interval from the ingestion of the infective eggs to oviposition by the adult female is about 1 month. At full maturity, the adult females measure 8 to 13 mm and the adult males are 2 to 5 mm. Okay, obviously the female is larger than the male. Gravid females migrate nocturnally outside. So this helminth also we can say. See, in lower what we can say, this is a diurnal period. That one shows diurnal periodicity, which means it will be active only at the night time. But in case of this Enterobius vermicularis, see this is nocturnal. This shows nocturnal periodicity. It lays eggs only at the night time. So these gravid females migrate nocturnally outside the anus and oviposit while crawling on the skin on the perianal area. This larva contained inside the eggs develops, the eggs becomes infective. Clear? Now, Enterobius vermicularis is the scientific name of the pinworms. We know that threadworms or the seedworms that falls under the family Oxyuridae and the order Ascaridae, popularly known to be the human pinworm. They will found on the intestine of the humans, particularly in the children. Apart from the human, they also seen in some of the vertebrates. And one way to differentiate between the gender of pinworms is to notice that female pinworms are physically longer than the male pinworm. Only by observing the size, we can come into the conclusion this is male and this is female. And this female, this is the size, we know that. And this infection caused by the pinworm is said to be as the enterobiasis. Sometimes it is known as the oxyurasis. Clear? No. Again, it is said to be as the pinworm or the seedworm. This is the most common parasitic nematode throughout the world. It can also be seen in the chimpanzee also. It is greater in women and the children. Okay, it is greater in the women and children. We know that adult will prefer to live in the cecum, that is a part of large intestine, and at the junction of the small and cecum appendix, and at the junction of the small and the large intestine. These are all the area they prefer to grow. The sexes are separate. As I have said, it shows the sexual dimorphism. Both male and female are very well developed. Worms are slender and creamy colored. This is not necessary. Okay. Now, At the anterior end, in both sexes, three lips and the paracephalic expression. These are all the things helps. These are all the structures helps the female to reach the perianal region. This is at the anterior end. In the posterior end of the female, long pointed, while that of the male is curved and the blunt. See, female is said to be as the long and pointed. In the male, it is like this. It is blunt in nature. In the female, it is sharp or pointed. Okay. By seeing this also, we can say this is female and this is male. With a bursa-like expansion, the single spicule. There is no gubernaculum. It is like an operculum which is covering the opening. Papillae support the caudal algae. Papillae is what? Sensory organ. Okay. Male is monarchic. Monarchic is not O, it is A. Monarchic means male is only one means the male reproductive structure which is only one in number. But in case of female didelphic means there is two ova is present, two oviducts, two uterus. This is the difference between the monarchic and didelphic. Okay, male is monarchic. See, this is most important. You have to remember this. Male is monarchic and female is didelphic. There is only one reproductive structure which is not occur in the paired form. Only one. In case of female didelphic, two ova, two oviducts, and two uterus is placed in the female. That is why it is said to be as the female didelphic. And the life cycle is simple and direct. So no larval stages will be seen here. Also, no intermediate host will be involved in here. At night time, as it is nocturnal, this female will lay eggs, migrate to the anus and deposit the eggs. The same point is repeating. Now, as it lay eggs in the perianal region, it causes some of the, definitely they are going to cause something, and that is itching at the anal and the perineal region, and the host is tempted to the scratch. Tiny eggs is about 55 mu and the 30 mu. Monarchy means only one, like what we can say. What is the reproductive organ seen in the male? See, in case of female, didelphic means two ova, two oviducts, two uterus is present. These are all the reproductive structures seen in the female, and everything will be occur in paired form. Two, everything will be occurred in two. But in males, everything will be occurred in only one. The same thing. Clear? That is monarchic and didelphic. Now, this tiny eggs about 55 mu and the 30 mu and each containing much larva thus associated with the fingers and fingernails. Finally, it will enter into the intestine and food to cause a reinfection. Are you clear or what? Just tell me. Hello? Excuse me, just tell me. See, a monarchic means there is only one testis, right? Only one testis in case of male, that is monarchic. In case of female, it is two ovaries, two oviducts, two uterus. These are all the structures. See, in case of male, testis is a reproductive organ. That is one that is occurs only only one in number. That is in case of male. Male is monarchic. In case of didelphic, two ovaries is present, two oviducts. Clear? Two ovaries, two oviducts, and two uterus will be present. That is why it is said to be as a female didelphic. Okay, clear. Now, egg hatches will be occurring in the duodenum. Okay. Egg will be hatches only in the duodenum and the larva will reach the small intestine. They are going to shred off something which is the process of molting occurs twice the time and becomes the adults. Adult will live for up to 20 to 30 days. See, there are lots and lots of informations to remember, but there are main things to remember compulsory. Okay, these are all the things you can remember or you cannot remember. But some of the things which I have stressing repeatedly, you have to remember that. Infections this automatically dies out within a month, provided there is no reinfection. So there is no relapse of infection will be seen here. And good sanitary habits are the best weapon against this infection. Again, the hygiene comes into picture. And what are all the symptoms? Appetite, insomnia, hysteria, restlessness, and inflammation. These are all the symptoms. That's all about the enterobius vermicularis. That is oxyuris. Okay. So then only leftover worm is strongyloid. That is threadworm. And it is placed under the domain Eukaryota, kingdom Animaliae, phylum Nematoda, and Chromatodaria, Rhabditidia, Strongylidae, and Strongyloid. Now, I'm going to explain this life cycle. If you okay with this life cycle means there is no other thing you have to keep in mind with respect to the strongyloids. Okay. Rhabdidiform larvae in the intestine are excreted in this tube. See, now the rhabdidiform, the name of the larval stage is rhabdidiform larva, which is present in where? Intestine of the host. Okay, it is present in the intestine. Now, the larva, particularly the rhabdidiform larva, which is present in the intestine, will be excreted in the fecal matter. That is two. Now, development into the free living adult worms. The larval stages will be developed into the adult forms. Now, what is we can see? Adult means definitely male we can see and the female we can see. Both will be fused together and it gives rise to the it undergoes the process of copulation and it goes to fertilize the female and male gamete, and as a result they are fertilization will be occurring. Eggs are produced by fertilized female forms. Now, as a result of this copulation, fertilized eggs will be produced. That will be laid by the human worms. Now, from the eggs, the rhabdidiform larva hatch from the embryonated eggs. From the eggs, the rhabdidiform larva will be hatched out. Now, this rhabdidiform larva will develop into the filariform larva. We know that rhabdidiform larva will feed more and this filariform larva will not feed on anything. Instead of that, it is going to cause infection. So this is the larval stage which we can consider as an infective larva. Clear? Now, this is the larva which is the one going to this infective filariform larva will penetrate the skin, okay, of the host, will again initiate the infection. Now, after the filariform larva enters into the human host, it will reach the circulatory system, and from the circulatory system, that is from the heart, it is reaching the lungs, and from the lungs it will reach the alveoli, and from the alveoli it is going to reach the tracheae and it will reach the pharynx. And if it reaches the pharynx, once again it has been swallowed and reached the small intestine. And from in the small intestine, that is the exact place where the sexual maturity will be gained by those adults. Now, the sexual maturity will be occurring in the small intestine itself. Now, the adult female which is present in the intestine will be fused with the adult male one. Again, the eggs will be deposited in the intestinal, the eggs will be produced, and after the eggs will be produced, auto-infection, the concept of auto-infection will be seen here. What does mean by auto-infection? Means this rhabdidiform larva, which is present in the large intestine, will be converting into the filariform larva. Okay. Now it is penetrate to the intestinal mucosa or the perianal skin and followed the normal infective life cycle. See, okay, let me explain you clearly. See, as I have mentioned, this female and male will give rise to the eggs. Okay, and after the eggs, it will be converted into the rhabdidiform larva. The eggs will be released in the fecal matter. Clear? And from the eggs, it will be hatch out into the rhabdidiform larva, and it's set free into the adult form. See, after the rhabdidiform larva, it is not developing into the filariform larva. It is also developing into the filariform larva, and it is also developing into the free living adult forms. Okay, so this is also happening here. Let me explain you once again. See, this is the rhabditiform larva in the intestine which is excreted in the stool. There is two happenings can be possible. This rhabditiform larva can be developed into the filariform larva. This can be possible, and this rhabditiform larva, without undergoing the filariform larva, directly it gives rise to an adult form. Some worms will have two larval stages, some worms will have only one larval stages. And after the egg will be hatched out into the rhabditiform larva, immediately after this type of larva, it will be developing into the free adult form, adult worms. Clear? And after the adult forms will be formed, once again the eggs will be the female will be going to give no larval stages. I didn't say anything with respect to this larval. We are discussing now strongyloids. That is respect to the entropius. Okay, don't get confused. This is about entropius, right? And we are discussing now strongyloids. And after saying the common name, I've explained the classification, and immediately after that we'll come into the life cycle. In that life cycle of strongyloids, clear or what, Lalita? Okay. See, one after the eggs will be hatched out, it will develop into the rhabditiform larva. Two happenings will be possible. One will be the rhabditiform larva will be developed into the filariform larva, or the rhabditiform larva will be directly converted into an adult form. Okay, now this adult form will be enter into the adult form. We know male and female will be there. Once it becomes sexual maturity, it will gives rise to an uh, eggs. From the egg once again it will be hatched out into the rhabditiform larva, and from the rhabditiform larva it will develop into the infective filariform larva. Now, this filariform larva can have two happenings, can also possible. Two happenings will be possible in case of this filariform larva. Once the infective filariform larva will be developed, it will be enter into the human, or the new generation of adult will be formed. See, from the eggs, the rhabditiform larva will be developed. The two happenings will be possible. One will be, it can be developed into filariform larva, or it can be developed into an adults. Okay. If it is developed into the filariform larva, it will be ready to enter into the host. And if it developed into an adult form, once again it lay eggs and hatch out into rhabditiform larva. From the rhabditiform, it will be developed into the filariform larva. And in case of filariform larva, two happenings will be possible. One, it can be enter into the host and reach the intestine, and there it will attain the sexual maturity is possible. And new generation of adults can also be possible. Clear? Now, if it enters into the body of the host, it will reach as the human intestine. Okay. In the filariform larva, once it enters into the human host, it will reach the circulation, that is heart. It will reach the heart. From the heart, it will reach the lungs. From the lungs to alveoli, to the trachea, to the pharynx, to the small intestine. Okay. And the small intestine, they'll attain the sexual maturity. They'll become the adults. And once again the female and male will be there, and once again the eggs will be laid and the cycle will continue. Okay, and what is the concept of auto infection is also there. Up to this, everybody clear? Now I'm going to explain a new concept, auto infection. This auto infection will also seen in some of the parasite. Just go through the slides and find out what is that. See, the rhabditiform will be there. Okay, I said two happenings will be possible. Filariform larva and develop into the adults. Other thing also possible, that is said to be as an auto-infection. See, this the rhabditiform larva, which is present in the large intestine, once again it becomes the filariform larva. See, this rhabditiform larva will be once again convert into the filariform larva within the human. this will penetrate, this filariform larva penetrate inside the intestinal mucosa or the perianal skin, and once again it will undergoes a separate life cycle. Okay, all these things are happening within the body of the host. See, just remember, all the things will be happening inside the host, but what are all the things happening here? The rhabdidiform larva can develop into an adult. The rhabdidiform larva can develop into the filariform larva, and this rhabdidiform larva will develop, will go on auto infection. Everything will be possible. Clear? Let me explain you clearly. Site of infection. This parasitic female worms becomes embedded in the small intestinal mucosa, forming the tunnels in the epithelium at the base of the villi in the small intestine. This is the exact location. And the eggs and the first stage larva are passed with the host fecal matter. Eggs or the first stage of larva will be, listen me carefully, eggs and the first stage of larva. And what is the name of the larva? Rhabdidiform larva will be passed into the host fecal matter. And the infective third stage larva, and that is said to be as what? Filariform larva will penetrate the skin and undergo the pulmonary migration before forming pathogenetic females in the humans in the intestine. Up to this clear? See, initially it is going to reach the small intestine. There, the eggs will be the eggs and first stage of larva will be passed out through the human fecal matter, and the third infective stage larva, that is filariform larva, will again penetrate the skin of the human and undergo the pulmonary migration. Pulmonary migration is nothing but from the heart to the lungs, from the lungs to the alveoli, alveoli to the pharynx. These are all said to be as a pulmonary migration before forming the pathogenesis females in the intestine, which means what? The larva will enter into the blood. From the blood it reaches the heart. From the heart, lungs. From the lungs it reaches the trachea. From the trachea to the pharynx. Okay, without causing any infection. See, through this migration, there is no infection will be seen in any of the area. Okay, just migration will be happening, but from the pharynx it is going to reach the intestine. Okay, and this is said to be as the pulmonary migration before forming parthenogenetic females in the intestine. There is no infection will be seen beyond beside infection. See, there is no female sexually matured female. There is no maturation occurs in any of their location. Only after it reaches the intestine, it gains the sexual maturity. Clear? Next. Their life cycle. Once again, the same thing will be repeating. The strongyloid life cycle is very complex than that of most of the nematodes, with its alternation between the free living and the parasitic cycles. See, why it is more complex means some of them are set free. They are free living, and some of them will act as a parasitic cycles, and its potential for auto-infection and multiplication within the host. So everything will be possible. So that is why the strongyloids are said to be a complex life cycle. So rhabdidiform larva will be excreted in the stool into the soil. So this is the first thing you have to keep in mind. Now, after it has been excreted in the stool, this rhabdidiform larva can become free living adults. Okay, this is one possibility. Just remember, this rhabdidiform larva can be becoming free living adults. Okay, this is the first possibility. Or if they may not the becoming an free adults, they can also be become an infective filariform larva that penetrates the human skin. Two possibility is there. Once the rhabdidiform larva excreted in the stool, okay, in the soil, there is two possibilities there. One is the rhabdidiform larva can become free living adults, or it can become into the infective filariform larva, and the filariform larva will enter into the human skin. Okay, two possibilities there. Now, if it is a free living adults, this adult worms would mate and female will produce eggs. As a result of mating, the female will produce the egg. Now, this rhabdidiform larva will hatch from the eggs. Okay. Once again, from the egg, which larval stages will going to hatch from those eggs? Again, the rhabditiform larva. Now, again, there is a two possibility. This larva can develop into a free living adults, or it can be developed into the infective filariform larva. Clear? Now, again, the filariform larva, but the function of filariform larva, it has to penetrate into the human skin because it is infective. Now, this larva is migrate via the bloodstream to the lungs, and it break through the pulmonary capillaries, descends the bronchial tree to the pharynx. That is, bronchial tree is nothing but tracheae. Pharynx are swallowed and then reaches the small intestine where they mature into the adults. In the small intestine, the adult female will be produce again eggs. Again, the egg will be hatched out into the rhabditiform larva. This will be released into the stool. Some larvae become the filariform larva in the large intestine. See, this is what happening here. Some of the rhabditiform larva, which is present inside the intestine, large intestine, will be developed into the filariform larva there itself. It don't need to hatch into the, it don't need to released into the soil via the stool. There is no need for that. The larva can even possible to become into the filariform larva once it is present in the intestine itself. And once again, they are going to penetrate the intestinal wall and internal. This is said to be as the internal auto-infection or perianal skin. That is external auto-infection. The auto-infection, which means what? The larval stages there itself converting into the filariform larva, where in the large intestine itself, within the large intestine, the filariform larva is going to cause the infection. So it is called as the internal auto-infection. If the filariform larva cause infection in the perianal skin, that is said to be as the external auto-infection. And again, once again, follow the normal infective cycle. If you have any doubts with respect to this means, you can raise me now. Clear? With respect to the life cycle of the strongyloids. Harana Jyoti, Lalita, Shanti Karanyas, tell me. I think everybody got tired. Okay. This is the slide you have to remember when it comes to strongyloids. These are all the strongyloid species. Stercorales, Fuleborni, and Ranthomi, Paliniceps, Cati, and Tumefaciens, Papillosus, Westeri. These are all the strongyloid species, and you have to remember what are all the hosts. In case of strongyloid stercoralis, humans, primates, dogs, and cats act as the host. In case of Fuliborni, apes and humans are the host. Ransomi, pigs are the host. Cats are the host for three different species of strongyloids: sheep and cattle, horses, donkeys, zebra, pigs. These are all act as host. If you can't remember which species acts as a which host, just remember humans, primates, dogs, cats, sheep, cattle. These are all has a capacity to access the host for this particular types of species called the strongyloids. And their location is majorly small intestine. The only species which prefer to live in the large intestine is strongyloids tumefaciens that needs cat as their host. They prefer to live in the large intestine. Generally, what is their clinical symptom is generally they are going to cause diarrhea. Okay, and some of them are non-pathogenic. And what is the non-pathogenic species is Planiceps and Cati. Okay, they are said to be as the non-pathogenic in nature. And all the species, this geographical distribution is not at all necessary. Clear? Just have a look at it. Okay, okay. Helminthes will be over. If there is a possibility, I'm going to conduct a test tomorrow for the first 10 minutes. Just I'm going to ask you what are all the other names and what are all the host. Okay, host and what are all the other important points and what are all the larval stages. Just revise those informations and come to class, and please be on time. Okay, and tomorrow we are going to start a new topic called Annelida, new phylum. Okay, okay, thank you. If you have no doubts, you can leave the class now, and if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Thank you.